Hello, welcome to your speaking role play. The purpose of the speaking role play is to get evidence of your ability to communicate with a patient. I will be taking on the role of a patient or a relative, and you will be taking on your professional role. The purpose of this role play is to get evidence of your ability to speak in English and communicate medical English. I will give you your scenario now. You have 3 minutes to prepare. You can make notes, but you must give them back to me once you're done. All right? So here's your scenario. You can start preparing now. That's the end of your 3 minutes. You can start your role play now.
Hi, I'm Fatima, one of the lead nurses on the ward. You're Simon's sister, is that right?
I'm Simon's sister and his main caretaker. I'm his full-time carer as well.
I wanted to let you know what happened last night. Now, Simon's been admitted because he's having some respiratory problems.
Yeah,
his asthma's given him a little bit of problem, so we're looking into that. Now, we know he's got diabetes, so we have been monitoring that and administering insulin as and when it's required. Now, unfortunately, there was an error yesterday. Simon got quite unwell. He had a hypo, which is when the sugar levels drop really low, and that was due to a member of staff administering too much of the insulin.
That's a bit strange because I'm his full-time carer. The only time I left him was last night because I had a few errands to do at home. I mean, a hospital should have trained nurses who know how to monitor blood sugars.
Absolutely. We do have the trained nurses. Now, the nurse was monitoring his levels and administered insulin, but Simon didn't eat, and due to that reason, his levels dropped very low. He got very almost unconscious. So we have treated him. He is stable now. A little bit tired. I apologize on behalf of the ward and the trust due to that error that Simon got very sick, and we are working to kind of help our nurses so this situation doesn't occur again.
I mean, I did a course in diabetes just because I was taking care of someone with diabetes, and I know what hypos are and what hypers are, and they could have killed him. So I'm not too sure if any action is going to be taken against this. Is very
absolutely
serious.
No, we are to take in any situation like this is taken seriously. We're talking to the nurse involved and the whole team involved, because we need to make sure these mistakes don't happen, and we need to also work out ways of working to kind of prevent these mistakes from happening again, because like you said, these are serious errors that should not be happening, especially in a hospital environment where, when we're caring for vulnerable people. So we're looking at ways, kind of, why did the situation occur in the first place, and we are going to be working to kind of find ways that it doesn't happen again. And obviously we will keep you informed of all the changes and things that we make, and if you wanted to kind of take it further and speak to the people involved, then we can also organize that as well. But I do apologize again on behalf of the trust for the error.
Is there a formal way that I can make a complaint?
You can make a formal, you can contact the PALS, the Patient Advisory Liaison Team, and they will help you in how you can conduct the complaint, and we'll be notified of it as well, and then we can meet together with the other members of the team.
Okay, that's fine. I just feel quite uneasy right now to leave him in the hospital.
Of course, and you've cared for him, and you know how you're dealing with his diabetes. You're doing a fantastic job. It's very unfortunate that he's come in and that has occurred. So I'm really sorry for that.
Okay, I'll try and stay in the hospital now and make sure that the nurses do what they're doing appropriately. But just about his asthma, how is he getting along with that?
So his asthma is quite. Is there anything you think has happened in the last few weeks why his asthma is getting so bad?
I think because he's been going out quite a lot, and it's very cold, and it's very difficult to convince him to stay in the house because of his needs. So I guess that's the only thing that has changed.
Okay, and is he using his inhalers regularly? So I know he's got 2 inhalers.
Yeah, so he has a brown inhaler which I make sure to get done once in the morning and once in the evening, and whenever he looks especially wheezy to me, because I'm always around, I give him the blue inhaler with the spacer.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so something, obviously, if it's the weather sometimes, and if he's been going out a lot, that can be a trigger for some patients with asthma. So when you know that the weather's going to trigger those symptoms, we do kind of encourage you to use the brown inhaler, frequently, because sometimes you'll have, some patients will use it in the morning but not use it at night. So we kind of need to encourage him to use it twice a day, and also use the spacer. So we can look at perhaps the technique you're using, because sometimes patients feel they're using the correct technique and it's not. So we can look at the technique, and then we can see how we can help him improve the symptoms. Sometimes it's not just the asthma, it could actually be that he's got a chest infection, and due to that chest infection the symptoms are not getting any better. So whether he needs a course of steroids, and we can also look at that as well.
How do I know he's getting a chest infection? I know this time he had a fever, but are there any other signs?
So the doctors will listen to his chest, and they'll do a chest x-ray if needed to see if he's got build-up of mucus in his chest, and we'll look at all the factors, and if he does need any antibiotics, then we'll prescribe that and give it to him while he's here.
Okay, all right, that's fine. So I'll try and get in touch with PALS to make that complaint. Yeah. But thank you for your time and letting me know.
Thank you for your understanding, and we do apologize for the mistake.
Okay. All right, so that was the end of your speaking role play. Thank you. Hi guys, this is Bhavna from Teacher Academy. Medical errors do appear quite a lot on your OET speaking. They appear on the nurse's OET as well as on the doctor's OET. We often find that students get really nervous on their OET speaking, especially if it's things which involve a lot of apologizing, and lots of students, they go into saying I'm sorry again and again, especially when they're faced with a scenario like this. Just to give you a background why this scenario is important, in the NHS in the UK there's something called a duty of candor. So every time a medical error happens, even if it doesn't create an actual harm or a long-term damage to a patient, you need to tell that to a patient, and if the patient doesn't have capacity, you need to tell their next of kin, which was the case in this scenario. So it's a part of your job. Okay, what I've told my students to do is that you always start out your first part of the scenario by telling them about what has happened. So that was what Fatima did. In the second part of your scenario, you apologize on behalf of your team. So remember, it may not be necessary that you're the person who's done the actual error. You might be the person responsible for this patient, or you might be a team leader, like Fatima was the lead nurse here. This can be modified for doctors as you being the medical registrar or the consultant responsible for the ward. So you do not shift blame, or you do not deflect blame. You do not say things like it's the junior nurse's fault, I didn't do anything. You're responsible for your team, and that's why you apologize for your team. You always tell your patient or their relative as to what actions you're going to take now, which Fatima did. She talked about providing additional training for nurses so that this doesn't happen, and referring this on to the seniors. So that's something that you can do. Other things that you can offer the patient or their relative is putting posters up, or putting out pamphlets, or arranging classes for nurses in order to prevent these medical errors in the future. Remember, you never stop your patient or their next of kin from making a complaint. So if they ask you about, is there a formal channel that I can make a complaint to, you always tell them about PALS, which is your Patient Advisory Liaison Services, which is basically a services for patients to give to complaint about medical errors or things that they're not happy with regards to their care provided in a hospital or a clinic. So you can do that. You don't stop them, you encourage them, because it's only going to improve medical practice in the future. So on your OET speaking, remember, divide your task into your 4 parts. Do not say I'm sorry again and again. You can use phrases like I apologize on behalf of the team. I assure you that this will not happen again. It is understandable that you're feeling angry right now. If I was in your place, probably I would feel the same. Or it's naturally understandable, or it's acceptable that you're angry right now, because obviously an error has been made, but I assure you that we will ensure that this doesn't happen in the future. Do not say I'm sorry again and again. Make some phrases and use them for medical errors. Good luck.